Over the next few minutes, we're going on a journey. There'll be action, adventure, friendship, romance. There'll be writing, creating, imagining. And you'll meet George Lucas, Jude Watson, Anthony Horowitz, Joseph Bruchac, Gail Carson Levine, and perhaps Lemony Snicket. So buckle up as Scholastic Book Fairs takes you reading across the galaxy. We begin along the Puget Sound, just north of Tacoma, Washington. Author Jude Watson is working on her latest book for Scholastic in the Star Wars Jedi Quest series. These adventures of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker are set between Episode 1 and Episode 2 of the Star Wars saga.
Everything is explained in the book, exactly who these people are and where they're going and what the galaxy is like and what the Jedi Temple is all about and what being a Jedi is about.
And this is where Miss Watson makes it all happen, in a tiny little attic writing room with only a computer, some resource books, and a lot of imagination.
I sit there and eat pretzels and jot down ideas, and I don't know how I do it. It's such a great big galaxy that George Lucas has created that there's so much room for a writer to invent.
In another writing room, less than 2 hours away, sits George Lucas, creator, writer, and director of the Star Wars saga. When George Lucas first began writing his outlines and eventually scripts for Star Wars, he wanted to do things no one had ever done before. But he knew it all had to start with an exceptional story.
I had to sort of figure out who everybody was, where they came from, how they got to be where they were, and what the dynamic relationships were between everybody. There is drama inherent in it because there is a lot of betrayal, a lot of things like that going on.
His writing room is where he spent hours researching, outlining, writing, and rewriting.
Starts with me sitting here doodling in my little binder, but it ends up with a couple thousand people working together in a very, very intense, emotional, creative way to pull it off. I mean, it's all over here. It's just a dream. It's just a kind of a thing that I can sit here and do and say, wouldn't it be great if? And then pounding that into reality takes a huge amount of effort.
While his movies and characters are immensely popular and his filmmaking techniques honored throughout the world, Star Wars books have also become universal hits, and Jude Watson has an idea why.
What I look to include in the books is a combination of the everyday experiences that a boy would have between the ages of, about 11 and 12 to 18, yet he's in these extraordinary circumstances. What we want to do is do one for every year that Anakin is a Padawan between The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones.
One of George Lucas's inspirations as he created the Jedi Knights was King Arthur and the legendary Knights of the Round Table. Another book on this year's book fair takes us back in time to historic England and the tales of the Knights of King Arthur's court. The year is 1199. Author Kevin Crossley Holland introduces us to 13-year-old Arthur, a boy with dreams of growing up to become a heroic English knight. When Arthur's friend Merlin gives him a shining black stone, a seeing stone, a story within the story begins to unfold. Page after page, young Arthur glimpses visions of the legendary King Arthur, whose life mysteriously parallels his own so closely that the two Arthurs, young and old, almost seem to connect. Unlock the mystery by reading the book. Mystery, suspense, and crime fighting are all used by author Anthony Horowitz in his series of books. New York City, the scene of the latest casualty in a string of mysterious deaths of wealthy and powerful men. MI6, England's version of the CIA, has determined only one link in these homicides. All the victims' sons attend the same private boarding school. Point blank. Just who can infiltrate a school for the super rich? None other than 14-year-old spy Alex Rider.
Well, Point Blank is Alex Rider's second adventure, and it takes him this time to a peculiar school somewhere in the Swiss Alps, run by a very unpleasant headmaster called Dr. Grief, and his even more unpleasant assistant, Mrs. Stellenbosch, the world's ugliest teacher.
Author Anthony Horowitz traveled to Clunin Middle School from his home in England.
How do you think of your characters for your stories?
Some of them are people I meet. If people are mean to me, they normally end up as a villain in one of my books. A lot of my teachers, when I was a kid, have been villains in my books. The headmaster and his wife at my school have both turned up a couple of times. That's one of the nice things about being a writer, is getting your own back at people who've upset you.
It was while he was at school that the idea of a child spy was conceived.
What would it be like to be a spy aged 14 years old? Or to put it another way, can we imagine James Bond aged 14? And that was really the first inspiration for Alex Rider. Alex saw the van. He saw the machine gun aimed at him. He couldn't stop. It was too late to change direction. He had come this far, but now he was finished. He felt the strength draining out of him. Where was MI6? Why did he have to die out here on his own?
Anthony aspired to be a writer from a very young age, and he encourages other young writers to realize their dreams as well.
To kids who want to write, it's the most wonderful career you can have in the whole world, because it opens so many different doors into theatres, into the world of television, into books, into people's lives. That's a great thing. I think there's something very, very special in a book, in the relationship between the reader and the writer. And they're the things that I'm the most proud of.
Point Blank, sequel to Stormbreaker by Anthony Horowitz. Now imagine being a very artistic young girl, but one who is handicapped. When her well-respected parents were still alive, she was protected, but now they are gone. However, because of her unique skill, Kira is allowed to live. She is moved to the palace, where she is given the task of restoring a sacred robe that contains the pictorial history of her world. Surrounded by mysteries and secrets, Kira must uncover the truth about her world if she hopes to change the future. Pick up a copy of Gathering Blue by Lois Lowry. Take a step into ancient 12th century Korea, where an orphan boy and his guardian live in the shadow of a bridge. They are humble yet proud, for although they are poor, their lives are full. When the young boy accidentally breaks a piece of pottery by the village's greatest craftsman, he must pay a debt of 9 days' work. He uses the opportunity to his advantage and perseveres to learn the craft. One day, he is entrusted with the important task of delivering 2 masterpieces across miles of unknown territory to the royal court. Pitfalls and robbers cross his path, and although failure is imminent, his determination never falters in this inspiring Newbery Medal-winning novel by Linda Sue Park. Don't miss Single Shard.
One of my favorites was the one about the skeleton monster. He was just a human being at first, a lazy, greedy uncle who hung around the longhouse and let everyone else...
Have you ever realized that some of the books in your Scholastic book fair are actually stories that have been told for hundreds of years? It's true. In this, Skeleton Man, the author, Joseph Bruchac, tells a spine-tingling thriller that actually started as Native American folklore.
That's one of the things about tradition. Tradition survives because it's useful, not because it's pretty or quaint, but because it really touches people's lives. Lazy uncle burned his fingers really badly in the fire and stuck it into his mouth to cool it. "Ooh," he said as he sucked the cooked flesh, "this tastes good." Isn't that gross? It kept on until he had cooked his whole body and eaten it, and all that was left was a skeleton.
Molly's parents disappear, and when a mysterious man shows up claiming to be her uncle, she believes he could be Skeleton Man. Her parents are gone. The police won't listen. Even her teachers won't listen to her tales of being locked inside the bedroom each night by this man with fingers like talons and eyes like blue flames. Yet Molly never loses her courage. The suspense builds to the bursting point in this fast-paced mystery. Joseph Bruchac says his talent for writing comes from a talent for listening. Listening, apparently, to some very, very scary tales.
We all were given by the Creator 2 ears, 2 eyes, 1 mouth. And that's proof that we need to listen twice as much as we talk and look twice as much as we speak. Therefore, if you want to be a writer, listen to what people are saying, listen to the world around you in general. Use your eyes to carefully see things, and also use your eyes, very importantly, use your eyes to read. Read, 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 and then read some more. If you want to be a writer, You have to love reading.
Meet two princesses, bound as sisters, yet as different as night and day. And they are part of a fantasy that is full of twists and turns, monsters and mayhem. Newbery Award-winning author Gail Carson Levine says, the book, Two Princesses of Bamarre, all begins in her imagination.
How do you think of titles for your stories?
Well, sometimes they just come. And with Two Princesses, it just came. I write a lot of notes to start with. A lot of notes. And then, well, often the first sentence comes to me. And eventually I get sick of writing notes, and so I start to write.
It is here, nestled in the corner of her 200-year-old farmhouse, where Gail enters into the world of griffins, sorcerers, and dragons.
There's a lot to be afraid of in Bamarre. There are monsters, there are ogres and griffins and specters and dragons. And there's also a dread disease called the Grey Death, which is nothing like any disease we have on Earth.
It is Meryl, the adventurous sister, who contracts the Grey Death. Addie is determined to find the cure, and although she has always feared being alone, launches on a quest to save her sister. Alone, Addie faces the perils of the dark forest, and she is captured by a dragon who knows the cure. Time is running out. The fate of both princesses is unknown. Will the sisters ever see each other again? If you can handle adventure and suspense, pick up a copy of Two Princesses of Bamarre and find out. For Artemis Fowl, the Arctic Incident, we head off to Ireland, where the 13-year-old criminal mastermind Artemis Fowl is at it again. In this second book of the enormously popular series, we find Artemis in an Irish boarding school, where he receives an urgent video email from Russia, a plea from a man kidnapped by the Russian mafia, a plea from Artemis's father. Rushing to his rescue, Artemis crosses paths with a familiar adversary, Captain Holly Short of the Leprechaun Fairy Police. Artemis and Holly Short must always be on their toes. After all, they never know who or what could be lurking around the next corner. And you should be on guard as well, because you never know when there may be a famous author in your midst. Take this group of kids in Northern California. They were told that the famous author Lemony Snicket, writer of these books called A Series of Unfortunate Events, could not make it to their school. But in his place was just an ordinary visitor, a man named Daniel Handler.
Mr. Snicket could not be here, and so I am here in his place. I will sing a song about Count Olaf. A song that is terrible, but not as terrible as reading Mr. Snicket's books. The first part of the song is called Vamping, and that simply means you play the same thing over and over and over. And it's a wonderful way to drive people crazy. The goal of Count Olaf is getting control of the fortunes of urchins and orphans. Hooray! I mean horrors! Count Olaf is no laughing matter. When you see Count Olaf count to 0, then scream and run away. Scream, scream, scream and run away. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, is this man really Daniel Handler, or could he be Lemony Snicket? One boy in the group thought that just maybe Daniel was the real author, and Lemony Snicket was his pen name, a pen name being a made-up name used by a person so that their real name is not used on the book, hiding their true identity.
Why isn't Lemony Snicket your pen name? And why wouldn't
Well, my
Snicket
pen
be wheeled in from
has a name. It's right here. Its name is Uni.
Daniel also offered up some advice to aspiring young writers. Listen closely, you may need this information someday.
Well, if you'd like to be an author, the the best thing to do would be to carry a notebook around as often as you can and a good pen, so that whenever you're eavesdropping on people or following people or taking notes on people's behavior, that you'll always have adequate materials. And then the other thing is that you should always make sure that you're someplace where, when you're caught eavesdropping or taking notes on people, that you can get away as quickly as possible. So, for instance, here I'm on the stairs where I could go behind me and escape safely, I could go in front of me and escape safely, or if I had to, I could climb over this and escape safely into the vast wilderness that is here. So those are the two rules. Appropriate materials and have an escape plan are probably the two most important things about being an author.
Don't walk, run to the Scholastic Book Fair in your school. That is, of course, if you can handle it. Look for a selection of the Series of Unfortunate Events books at your Scholastic Book Fair. You have a lot of sad, horrible, unfortunate reading to do. Our journey has ended for today, but you can always find lots of action, adventure, romance, and more waiting for you at the Scholastic Book Fair. It's out of this world.
Roger, Capcom, we have a book fair.
Greetings, chair people. The purpose of this video is to provide easy step-by-step instructions on how to merchandise and set up your book fair. Creating the enchantment of books is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Here comes the truck now. Your fair is delivered in portable bookcases with extra boxes on top that contain special merchandise. The Scholastic driver knows exactly where your fair is by following the book fair arrows hanging throughout the hallways. Some of the books you will receive are highlighted in the hallway posters. These posters generate early excitement for the upcoming book fair. Step 1. Place bookcases. Each middle school book fair will receive 4 bookcases, 2 cases with fiction titles and 2 cases of nonfiction books. These should be placed around the perimeter of the book fair space. One fiction case features science fiction, fantasy, mystery, suspense, and action-adventure books. Titles on this case include Book 1 of the exciting new Arthur trilogy called The Seeing Stone, the newest Harry Potter paperback, The Goblet of Fire, as well as the 2002 Newbery Award winner, A Single Shard. The other fiction case features best-selling novels, classics, and favorite series. The nonfiction cases go next to the fiction cases and feature reference titles like the Scholastic Book of World Records, as well as books about nature, science, history, sports, and humor. Step 2. Locate Open Me First box and determine table placement. Inside the Open Me First box are table signs, plastic table covers, and sign holders. At the fair we are setting up today, we need 4 tables for reference, creativity, software, and bestsellers. Some schools will need more tables and some less. Be sure to place the cashier table right by the entrance to your fair. We also recommend placing the bestsellers table near the front entrance to draw students into the book fair. Book fair tip. Recruit student helpers as volunteers. Student helpers will be happy to assist. They can move and place the tables, cover them, and set up table signs. Make sure that adequate space is allowed for access to cases and for browsing. With 2 helpers, this step should take about 10 minutes. Step 3. Sort boxes and place beside tables. The boxes containing display merchandise have a label on top showing where the items need to be placed at the fair. Sort these boxes and place them beside the tables around the fair. Be sure to put out all of the merchandise selected for your fair. The books at a Scholastic book fair are chosen by an expert team of book professionals from publishers around the world. Student volunteers can be very helpful for this part of setup as well, and can sort boxes, set out merchandise on tables, and store empty boxes under tables. With 2 student helpers, sorting all of the boxes should take about 15 minutes. Step 4. Create table displays. You can create an exciting display table in about 15 minutes or so. Ask students who like art to help with this step so that they can show off their creative flair. Watch how in just 5 easy steps we create a reference table for your book fair. Step A. Cover the table with a tablecloth and place empty Scholastic boxes in the center. These boxes will create height on your tables and allow for more space to display merchandise. Step B. Cover empty boxes with tablecloth or fabric and place table stand and sign. Face table signage toward the entrance to your fair. Table signage is very important because it helps your customers locate items. Feel free to use props like this globe on your display tables to add excitement to the book fair. Step C. Unpack and place cardboard displays. Books featured in the cardboard displays are super popular with young readers and include the Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul books and an exciting assortment from Scholastic's reference series. These displays sit right on the reference table. We recommend that you place the shipper box that the display is delivered in underneath the display table so that it is easy to find when you pack up your book fair. Step D. Group merchandise together by subject and size. Step E. Build the front of your table toward the main entrance with signs facing the front of your fair. Stack displays and large books in the center of the display table with smaller stacks on each side. Vary colors between light and dark book covers. Create a pyramid effect on each side of your table. Now that's a great-looking table. Product is subject to change. We order new books every day and you will receive the latest and greatest. Step 5. Use top of bookcases to showcase titles. To show off the great selection of titles at the book fair, we recommend that you feature books on the top of the bookcases. Use the cardboard book stands found in the Open Me First box to hold featured titles. This is an excellent project for any student helpers to assist with. They can choose their favorite books and feature them on top of the cases. Step 6. Set up cashier table. The cashier table is one of the most important and popular areas of your book fair. When placing your cashier table, imagine tons of people waiting to pay and visualize where you'd like people to stand while waiting online. If the line blocks the entrance, no one will come in. Place the variety box display and last-minute purchase items such as pens and teachers' pets centrally on your cashier table. These are some of our fastest-selling items and will create add-on sales to help you meet your book fair goals. Schools have increased sales significantly by accepting credit cards and debit cards. Place signage on your cashier table to let your customers know that your book fair accepts credit cards as a form of payment. This is a real convenience for your customers. Many schools find it necessary to have more than one cashier table. Depending on your school enrollment and anticipated attendance, you may want to include several checkout areas. Step 7. Display posters. Hang one of each poster found inside the poster display boxes on the walls at your fair so your customers can see them, and the posters are a great way to decorate your book fair. Number the posters on the wall with Post-it notes so that people can request them easily at checkout. Don't forget to place your poster boxes near the cashier table for easy access. Step 8. Set up classroom wish list program. Included in the planning kit are materials to grow classroom libraries by using the classroom wish list program. Parents are encouraged to purchase books from the fair and donate them to the classrooms. This comprehensive kit has everything to make your classroom wish list a complete success. Step A. Arrange a time for teachers to visit the book fair and preview the selection of great books. They can browse, handpick selections, and complete individual book donation cards. Step B. Create a classroom wish list display. By using the materials in the planning kit, you can create a colorful classroom wish list display at the fair to encourage donations. Place the classroom wish list display near the entrance to your fair to ensure that parents can find the classroom wish lists easily. Step C. Explain program to fair volunteers. Be sure to show all of the volunteers at your book fair the classroom wish list program. Be sure to keep the classroom wish list book plates at the cash register area for all gift books donated by students and parents. Step D. Discover the corporate sponsorship program. Last year, Many schools reported great successes and received book donations from community businesses. For more information on our corporate sponsorship program, check out the Chairperson's Guidebook. In just 8 easy steps, we created a great-looking book fair. But just in case your school is not big enough for this particular layout, here is another option for you to consider, where your cases are arranged back to back. You can place your cashier table in the hallway to maximize your space. For more book fair information, check out our terrific book fair website at www.scholastic.com/bookfairs/chair. Packing up your book fair. One last tip. Place the boxes that the books arrived in under your display tables. Once the fair is over, recruit student and parent volunteers to assist with the process of packing up the book fair. Simply place the books back into the boxes they arrived in. Each box will have a label to ease this process. We really appreciate your efforts with packing up the fair. Finally, we have learned over the years that the larger the space, the more successful the fair. So consider hosting your book fair in the school gymnasium or auditorium. In this school gymnasium, it's possible to maximize your book displays and host more people. Plus, the space really adds to the overall excitement of the fair. Together, we created a great-looking book fair. Thank you for sharing your love of reading and books with the students at your school. Your efforts will help children become lifelong learners and find books that they not only want to read, but own. Best wishes for a wonderful book fair experience.